Hey everybody, Alex Newman here again with the New American. We are still at the Red Pill Expo, as you can see behind us, and with me is a good friend, a wonderful, wonderful lady, Senator Julie Frye-Mueller, and she has been on the front lines of the freedom fight here in South Dakota, and she is now fighting. You guys know I'm all into education. I did not know this. She really surprised me. Tell us about what you found in the federal education statutes about what they can do to these children.
Okay, well, it was a few years ago, one of the school board members' sister found in our school handbooks, and every parent needs to know those school handbooks. I don't recommend anybody signing or clicking online saying they've received it because they've never read the 40 to 70 pages in it, and you're signing something that can really hurt your child, in my opinion. And what your jaw just dropped yesterday when I told you this. And in 20 U.S. Code 1232H is a section in there where the schools can do non-emergency invasive physical exams on a student. And it's like, what do you mean? So then we looked it up, and I've had bills the last 3 years addressing it. A non-emergency invasive physical exam, when you give the definition in federal law, in this statute that's in the handbook, says exposure of private body parts, including incision, insertion, and injection into the body. And these are non-emergency invasive physical exams that they can do. And it says scheduled by the school in advance, not necessary for the health of the student or for any other student. And it required as a condition of attendance. They're playing doctor with our kids in school, and it shouldn't even be in there. If there's nothing important, why are you scheduling a doctor's appointment that would include exposure of private body parts, incision, insertion, and injection into the body? So then where does your mind go? Vaccines, IUDs,
Transgender surgeries.
Hormone blocker, puberty blockers. You know, I've had two moms let me know, and they have not been from South Dakota, but their daughters had incisions in the states they were in, and birth control patches put in the back of their arms. I mean, this is the schools playing doctor, and parents don't even know. And one of the senators that made a motion to send my bill to the 41st day, which to me is, I don't appreciate it, but I said, how would you feel if somebody went in and did a cavity search on your child? Insertion, incision, injection. I mean, it's sick, and it's not the role of the schools to do that. And I've had, like I said, for 3 years in a row, I've had this bill, and in our Republican state, the bill has been killed every year. So I really want the people out there listening to make sure that their legislators know whether or not they think this is acceptable and whether or not they should support it or not. Because in our state, we're supposed to be a conservative state, all about parents, all about kids, but yet we're not protecting the kids.
Folks, let this sink in, okay? Under the guise of education, the federal government has given the schools the right to inspect your children's private parts, to insert things in them, to give them all sorts of medical procedures and devices. This is happening without I've been studying education for a decade, and I didn't know that. Tell us a little bit more about your bill, Senator, because folks out there, if you're listening to this, it's almost certainly in your state as well. Again, it's a federal policy. You need to get this to your legislators. So tell us about this bill that you have, Senator, and what are the key points, and how can people work to get this in their own states?
Well, if anybody's out there, this last year it was Senate Bill 170, and what you have to do is you have to put it in state law. So we took the exact verbiage from federal law, and instead in federal law it says any non-emergency. I took the word any out and put the word no in.
Nice.
But you had to put it in state law in order to address it, to get it out of the schools. So I just changed the word any to no, and then and also in that section, and I had sent it to you, it says the parents must be notified at least annually, which means they're doing it through the school handbook. And like we said, people just don't take the time to read it. And we've had problems with our South Dakota High School Activities Association last year and the year before, and they're still doing it. Parents still aren't reading it. They've revised it a little bit this year, but these parents are not reading what they're signing with their kids. And a couple years ago, when the parents brought it to me, and they're mandating that they put the school on the child's HIPAA form so that they can download the information in case they need it in an emergency. I'm sorry, you're not playing doctor in an emergency. None of us needed to hand over any of that information all these years. You don't need that. And then in the bottom, that's in section 6, the bottom section says you have to fill it out or your child will not be able to play. So to me, it's kind of a blackmail thing too. So I mean, parents, all I can say is parents have to read, have to pay attention to what they're doing, because you can be giving your child's privacy away. You can be putting a child, and we had a bill, not the 2020, but the 2019 session. I think it was 20, and it could have been 2020. And that was House Bill 1057, where we were making it so transgenders were not allowed, or no, excuse me, children who are confused were not allowed to transgender their bodies. These are minor children.
Do you think that'd be pretty common sense?
You think it'd be common sense. I mean, you're not supposed to
can't smoke,
all those other things.
Can't vote.
But yet that did not pass. So you are allowing children to transgender. And it's just sad because every one of us knows a child cannot make those decisions. We know it. And in our state, and that was a big thing for our Chamber of Commerce and another retailers thing that promoted, killing that bill because of business, because of the almighty dollar.
Folks, put these two things together, and what you get is what happened in Minnesota. In 2016, there was a little boy confused about his gender. The mother explicitly said he could not have a sex change, so-called, and the public school took him to a medical facility and castrated him. They removed his genitals under the guise of giving him a gender affirmation surgery. The mother sued in federal court and lost. The courts found that the school did not violate her parental rights. And my guess is it has something to do with this idea that the schools can do all these kinds of procedures. Folks, this is serious. This is a crisis. It may be your children who are next. Get involved. Share this interview. Senator, is there anything else that you want to say? Where can people find you? How can people get involved?
Well, if I can tell you another thing, we also had a bill a couple years ago that I think Representative Pischke brought, I'm not positive, and that was because schools were teaching gender dysphoria in kindergarten through 7th. So he has a bill saying, no, we're not putting those negative ideas in the kids' head. We're not teaching them gender dysphoria. And that bill died too. I mean, so
in South Dakota, folks.
If you dot to dot all these bills, and then this year we also had a birth certificate bill that said you cannot change the gender on your birth certificate. Who would have ever thought you would have needed to have a bill that says you can't change the gender on your birth certificate? Who would have ever thought that? But evidently it was being done, and so then Representative Deutsch from the Sioux Falls area brought this bill saying you cannot change a gender on your birth certificate. And then it brought up, well, can you change a race on your birth certificate? Can you change the age on your birth certificate? That bill was killed as well. So the Girls in Fairness, there's Fairness in Girls Sports bill that was made the national news. The bill got vetoed, and then
by Kristi Noem?
Yeah, it did get vetoed.
Wow.
And then she came out with 2 executive orders, but they just said as long as it matches the gender on your birth certificate, but knowing that the bill that says you couldn't change the gender on your birth certificate died, you can still be a transgender female and play, because then it would match the gender on your birth certificate.
How do you recommend that people get involved? People who are outraged by this, people who are watching and thinking, you're telling me they're doing what with our kids? What does a person do now with this information?
Don't be complacent about it. Don't. If we don't advocate for our kids, who else is going to?
Yeah.
And we are the primary educators of our children, not the school.
Amen.
And when you're told something and you choose to not put the effort into it to help or fix it, which is what we see, it's like, oh, that requires work. You'll get 200 people at a meeting, and then the next meeting it maybe goes to, and people are all passionate about something, and then it goes down, and then it goes down. Well, they're counting on us, going down and letting it go. The more we let things go, the more we don't work hard to change them and make them the best we can for our kids. The whole reason I'm in the RAN is for kids. I love kids. That's where my heart is. And I really want parents to pay attention and not trust everything. We can't really trust anybody.
Clearly. Yeah.
So, and you were a rock star. You should run for president.
Well,
you should run for president.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you for what you're doing. We are so thankful for legislators who are willing to fight the good fight. Folks, you heard it. It's tragic. It's a travesty. And as long as you don't get involved, yeah, I'm talking to you. As long as you don't get involved, these kinds of atrocities are going to continue taking place. Evil is going to continue marching on. Senator,
well, can I say one more thing?
Please do.
I do want you to know I had 2 national organizations that came and supported this bill. I believe I had 9 proponents on this bill, and 2 came from the departments within and testified against it. And the committee went with the departments, not the 2 national organizations. And one was Children and Parental Rights organization, and the other was Constitutional Alliance. They stepped forward and tried to help support this bill, and it just blows my mind when you can have that much support, that much common sense, and yet somehow the bill dies.
Well, we can't let up. So folks, please share this interview out. Please get this information to your legislator, send it to your state senator, your state representative, your governor, your congressman. And Senator, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you for what you're doing.
It's an honor and a pleasure to have you here. Thanks so much, folks, for watching, and we'll catch you next time.